Welcome to this week's Eccentric Minute, brought to you by Eccentric. This week's Eccentric Minute, we're going to review one of our foundational single leg exercises, and that is the K-box split squat. Just like with the squat, guys, make sure you got that tether taut when you're at full extension, and set yourself a counterbalance. Here we're going to use the barbell on the rack. Sink it down just like a regular split squat, chest tall, and drive through that front foot. I really like that back plate there to take tension off that back toe. As we progress forward, that's going to be big time to help us even keep our weight forward more. As we increase intensity and decrease volume, we're also typically cutting depth, therefore increasing transfer when we're looking at stopping power at a greater height. Guys, give this one a shot. I'm sure that this is one that you're going to find some great carryover for your athletes. I really hope you enjoyed this week's Eccentric Minute. Make sure you check them out at eccentric.com to find out everything you need about the K-box and the K-pulley. Being a strength and conditioning professional requires constant pursuit of better knowledge, better methods, and better means. But what if there was a place where strength and conditioning coaches could learn from some of the most innovative practitioners in the world, such as Jeff Moyer, Lachlan Wilmot, William Wayland, James the Thinker Smith, and Keir Wenham-Flatt? Well, you could find multiple lectures from each of these top-level coaches and a few lectures and examples from yours truly as well, all in the Strength Coach Network. The Strength Coach Network is going to bring you well over 100 different lectures from some of the top practitioners in the world to be your one-stop shop for your continuing education and professional development. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASP today and get your 48-hour trial for only $1. That's strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS to get your 48-hour trial for only $1. I look forward to seeing you in the Strength Coach Network. Coach, super fired up to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks so much, Jay. Appreciate it.
But listen, let's get everybody caught up first and foremost. Like, who is Coach Carmen? Where are you at? And how'd you get up there to upstate New York?
Yeah, so Carmen Maciariello. I was a college basketball player at the University of New Hampshire, team captain. Grew up in the Albany area, had a chance to transfer back home to Siena. Actually gave up a full scholarship to prove to people I could play at Siena, and played 4 seasons overseas in Europe, and left George Washington as an assistant coach to work for Jamie and Christian at Siena 2 years ago. Fast forward. I took a pay cut to do that because my family's from here still. My wife's from Boston. So we had one little girl at the time. Now we have a little guy who's about 2.5 months old. And so it was just an easier transition to be closer to family, to, see them more, and also to have them see our kids grow. And it was also a chance to come back home to a place I believed in. And it kind of worked out where Jamie and our staff does a great job. We turn around a program that won 8 games and win 17. Fast forward, Jamie gets the job at GW, and then I get promoted to head coach. So, sometimes it doesn't happen like that. Fortunate to have people believe in me, and obviously my athletic director, John Dargenio, and our late president, Ed Coughlin. And now obviously just here looking to make a difference.
First of all, I'm going to have to get into it with MJ a little bit. I didn't know you were an upstate New York guy, too. What high school?
Shenendehowa. So Matt Johnson.
Right. I know exactly where you're. Yeah, I'm from Rochester. So,
Yeah. So you went to Fairport?
Yeah.
So I had coached a kid on the City Rocks back in the day named Corey McGee, who played at Siena, who was from Fairport. And then Scott Fitch is actually still coaching there. And he trained some guys. He's involved with USA Basketball. So actually, Jalen Pickett, who's our returning point guard and player of the year in the MAC, Isaiah Stewart, who should be a lottery pick from University of Washington, who went to McQuaid, and then Lala Mir, is training out there with Coach Fitch at Fairport, on a weekly basis. So it's always a small world.
Dude, it's so and usually the small world, like when it comes to this, it's like I run into people in the A10. Or people who spend time in the Valley. It's not like you get people that are so close, literally so close to home. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So no, and Matt Johnson obviously is a great friend of mine, and he just has been. We went through it at GW for a couple of years and enjoyed getting to know each other and just kind of helping our student athletes, which is what it's all about. And Matt's just the salt of the earth person. His mom and dad are great people, and just excited when he said that you were interested in putting me on here. I said, hey, let's do it.
Yeah, and Matt really put us together for another reason, and that's really the reason why we're here talking today, and that is this organization that you guys have started building that some of us have been lucky enough to be asked to be part of. So let's talk a little bit about Coaches for Change and where this idea came from and the driving factors behind it.
Yeah, it was just something that I was thinking about as it was funny. I still remember when I was texting, some guys that are members now, Jerry McNamara, Mike Menega, Marcus King, Amir Abdul Rahim. I was out my daughter was on her scooter and I was sitting there. I made sure she had her helmet on, and then I try to get as much work done when I'm outside going for walks with her. And obviously the murder of George Floyd had just happened, and was just kind of brainstorming with some guys in the basketball industry, like, hey, how are you talking to your teams? What are you going to do to help them with this situation? Obviously, there's so many different aspects, mental health, and then social injustices. Now there's that kind of just microscope on racism and microaggressions. And so what are we doing to help our young people, but to educate our young people? And that's more or less how Coaches for Change was founded. That number 4 in that title, stands for us wanting to really just educate our student athletes. There's 4 E's involved with it. We want to engage, we want to educate, we want to empower, and we want to evolve. And so, right now we're talking about voter registration, but that 4 and those 4 E's are going to be a driving force and a vehicle of change for whatever we want to do, whether it's, hey, looking at the campus police or the city police in Richmond, and do they all have to wear body cameras? Well, hey, we're going to be able to take donations, and maybe we're able to, provide a couple cameras for every university police department around the country. And obviously that's thinking big, but we're not just going to be so centralized where it's only just about voter registration. That's what we're focusing on now, because there can be a tangible result. But we want to be coaches for change, for the good, and we want this thing to be around forever. This isn't just something that's going to be a flash in the pan. I wanted to, really dive in and have a vehicle of change for, the duration of time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I think that it's really awesome that you guys have really done the heavy lifting to get this started, because the one thing that I think a lot of us have struggled with is like just not knowing what to do and how we can do it and how to be involved and how to be better, for the young men and women that we get to work with on a daily basis. And, now having a group that has direction, has ideas, has, things and different people that we can talk with to not just find our plan, but hear what other people are doing. And then, what I've been doing that every Monday is bringing it back to the guys and being like, yo, like, this is what we're talking about. This is where we're at. How are we doing with the voter registration? How are we doing with these things? What are things you guys are seeing? What are things that you guys think are important? And sitting here and taking a step back and listening, because I think that on top of this too, right, like, it allows us to be a voice for them too. And unfortunately, the House of Representatives probably doesn't represent us quite as well as they should. Like, we all know that. So hopefully we can be able to find a way to be more of a voice for the players and allow the players then to have a greater voice in the near future.
Yeah, and I think that's key. And that's, our website, www.coaches4change.org, has a lot of those foundational resources where, whether it's a local, gubernatorial race, or it's, something that's at the national level, they'll be able to find those, per se, what ideas or just kind of cornerstone things that those candidates stand for. And I think that's half the battle, is getting our young people to understand. You just don't want to get them registered. You want to give them knowledge behind each candidate and what they stand for, so they can make educated decisions. And for me, that's what this thing is all about. And as you alluded to, Jay, it's about us kind of creating those bonds in that community where, we had 76 people on our call last night. our founding member group is 119 coaches from across the country, men's coaches, women's basketball coaches, strength coaches, director of operations. And, we have different people if they want to be affiliated. We have an advisory board. So there's just so many different things we're trying to do. The end of this week, I'm hoping, we're going to have our donate link ready to accept donations. And then we're also going to have our membership page on there. So if somebody does want to get involved, they know how to get involved, because, so many different people have reached out to me saying, hey, Carm, how can we be a part of Coaches for Change? And for me, we want to be all inclusive. If somebody wants to be a part of it, hey, come on board. Everyone has a different time commitment. Everybody has a different job role within their university. But the one thing we can talk about is, so many colleges now have a group that's made up that maybe stemmed from Coaches for Change, where they have a group now of student athletes made of, a student athlete from every varsity sports team. And now they come back to their AD, and there's a couple administrators and a couple of varsity coaches where now they're talking about those issues that we talked about at Coaches for Change. And then they can bring that to the regular student body. They can bring that to their president of the school. And now there's those conversations. Now, obviously COVID-19 is going to, kind of tie our hands a little bit depending on how those meetings will go. But we've had real conversations. We started an action group at Siena. And so for me, that's what it's about. It's about creating those conversations. And, we don't really care how people get registered to vote, as long as we're getting everybody registered to vote. And that's kind of our goal, not only men's basketball and women's basketball, but the cross country team, the track and field team, the lacrosse team, the football team. It doesn't matter, but we should all have the ability to use Coaches for Change, because there's an educational tool there. It's not just a click the button and sign up. You can learn something.
Yeah, there are a lot of really great resources out there, and people listening to some of ours are on there too, which is really flattering that you guys felt that it was pertinent enough to put on there. But I think that the one thing that is the most important, we talked a little bit about last night. I think that people at times, when they look at things like this, they look and they talk about, well, what's their agenda and what are they trying to gain from this? And I thought that the point that was probably the most important to me was when we were talking about educating people on candidates, but it being, these are just the facts. This is not, I'm not telling you to do anything. This is just the information. You need to find the information and make your own decisions. You have to educate yourself. Here are some ways to go about finding that. Google works too, but you can, here are some spots where you can find some things.
Right.
But we're not pushing an agenda. And I think that that's what's most important. The agenda we're pushing here is to allow the athlete to have a greater voice and to use their platform to drive the change that's most important.
For sure. And that's why it always comes back to those 4 E's, right? We want to engage, we want to educate, we want to empower, and we want to evolve. And we should be doing that daily and creating thought for our student athletes. And in turn, it's a two-way street. Our student athletes are helping us create thought, and we're also helping educate each other. And sometimes the best lessons we learn are from our student athletes. And in the same vein, sometimes the best lessons we learn are from a coach across the country or down the street at a different level that we may have not known before, but now we're privy to that information because of our information sharing at Coaches for Change. And for me, it's even wider than that. This thing could be so big and so powerful where, we're also giving people real world leadership training, how to delegate responsibilities, how to come together with ideas, how to think and act in a remote learning environment. And now we can also be empowering, the GAs and the student assistants and the director of ops and the video coordinators that are looking to make their way in a business. Well, now they're on job interviews without even knowing it with who they're dealing with in our group, from, Power 5 assistant coaches to mid-major head coaches to Big East assistant coaches. And so for me, the biggest thing is now we can also be the change in athletic departments. We can also be the change in college coaching, where we're able to help promote people within our organization and get them better jobs and get them recognition, because we have 119 people that can vouch for somebody with the work they've done for Coaches for Change.
Yeah, and I think that the one thing that we all like to talk about so much, and whether or not it's always really what people are doing, or if there aren't still some hidden agendas and some things people are doing. So we always talk about everything's for the betterment of the kids, and everything's for the betterment of the student athlete, and everything's based around doing what we can to make sure that they're best prepared, and the best situations are taken care of the best, or provided the best. And that really is what we're trying to do. And that's, the three calls that I've been lucky to be on, and to sit there and listen, like that's really been the driving factor to it. And that was the theme of our talk today after we ran this morning, was simply just, fellas, like, how many of y'all are registered? One. Okay. For the one guy that wasn't, turn your airdrop on. Let me shoot you this website. Take care of this if you can. But I want you guys to be involved in this. I want to know, like, if we're going the right way, or if there's things you see that we can do better, or if there's things that you see I need to be more involved in, or I need to put forward more, because like you said, like, we have an opportunity here where we can take care of our house and then work our way out and take care of the whole neighborhood, whether it be at Siena or Richmond or with MJ at Butler. There's a few people at GW involved, there's Andy at Dayton. So I was really happy to see 3A10 schools in, but it's like, after that, like, is it something where I can go down the street and talk to Jamal and Roos and Rhodes at VCU and see how we can expand that way? It's important, because I think right now, like, with what we're seeing and some of the things that we just saw this past weekend, albeit I guess what happened with the WNBA might have been misinterpreted with what happened with, or didn't happen with, the anthem. But like, athletes are now starting to see that they do have these platforms, and we need to, again, help them be educated so that they can interact with people and then evolve to build these things. And it's really, these calls have been really important to me to hear that, because again, like, if we are what we say we are, and that is people that are looking out for the betterment of these young people, then this is something that is super important.
No doubt. And I would love for you to go down. Obviously, I know Mike Rhodes, he's a good friend, and the guys at VCU. And, that's one thing, we can do is, hey, reach out to somebody where, we have conferences all represented, and we have a few schools in each conference. But now it's about, hey, reach out to, two other strength coaches in the Atlantic 10, or the basketball coaches, or the women's basketball coaches, and say, hey, have you got your guys registered to vote? And it's something that we can almost have a domino effect with, where now, hey, we're going to challenge you. Well, hey, all right, Rhode Island and VCU, you guys aren't registered yet. Hey, let's have a competition. Who can get their guys registered to vote first? Or let's see A10. Let's get registered all before the Missouri Valley, because obviously Kareem Richardson is a member of Coaches4Change, and he's at Indiana State now. So, we could have conference challenges. So there's so much we could do with it. We're 99 days now until election, I think. And it's, just a wonderful thing with everyone coming together. And for me, during this time, it's kind of energized me more. I'm a pretty energetic guy, but, doing this stuff for a greater good, and to realize we're really making a difference is what this is all about. I never wanted to be a head coach to say I was the boss. I always wanted to be a head coach to, have more of an impact and the ability to make an impact. And I think that's what this is all about. And I think, everyone's kind of understanding that, hey, this is a big deal. We're doing something great, and we need to continue to push that envelope and really do what we can do, because this is going to be a vehicle that can be everlasting change for whatever issues we want to get behind, and really be that kind of force of change.
Yeah, and I think that that's awesome. And then I think that the next thing that we really need to talk about is, you brought it up a little bit before, but what I'm really hoping is that coaches hear this and they're like, yo, I want to help. I want to be involved. What are some ways, Carm, that you think, just starting grassroots level and then working our way forward, what are some ways that these coaches can get more involved and to be part of this, and really, again, do better for the young men and women they get to work with every day?
Yeah, the first piece is just, getting them familiar with if they even are registered to vote, or if they're not of age, they can still sign up, and then they'll get a text from vote.org on their birthday saying, hey, you can register to vote right now. when they're 18 years old. But the biggest thing is to continue educating on those facts, right? Like, we don't want to have, anything that's, not black and white. Obviously, we want people to make their own decisions on topics, and they're going to have a chance to research candidates off our website. But, for all coaches wanting to get involved, it's about, hey, once I get involved, it's not just about saying I'm a member for, some credibility. It's about, I'm involved because I actually want to take action and make a difference, and I'm going to get my team registered to vote. Like, that's the first thing they can do. And that's easy because I wanted to become more educated on this. So I thought, hey, let's build this site for someone that's not completely knowledgeable on all the voter registration pieces with absentee ballots and mail-in ballots. And so let's do that first, because I know I needed help, and I'm sure many people did. And I've heard that from them. And then even, finding out from our group, like Mike Menega at Oregon, who's a member, was telling me, hey, Carm, we had a talk with our team, and, the 4 or 5 things that came up from our team was, one, they didn't know what to do. They didn't have enough time to really look into things. They didn't know how to go about the process of getting an absentee ballot. So we wanted to, take a small sample size of coaches with things that we heard back from our student athletes and really craft that website to really tackle all those hurdles. And with that being done, now it's like, hey, let's use this. Let's, on election day now, right? No one wants to work. It's going to be an off day and probably mandatory by the NCAA, the NABC, which is awesome. And I know Eric Reveneau at Georgia Tech was the one that kind of spearheaded that. And I've talked with Eric, and, that's just such a great cause. But now, if most of our student athletes are from out of town, what are they doing to help this process? One, are they going to be able to help at a polling station? Or, hey, on Coaches4Change.com, there's actually books that are not racially biased, that there's actually Black and Latino and different colored people in their books, right? When you were a kid growing up, probably rarely saw Black people in your children's books. Well, now we have books that are actually, a real kind of sample size where it's there's no racial bias in these books, where we can have them read to students, maybe on an after-school program, so their parents can go register to vote and they don't have to pay for a babysitter. Or maybe we set up shuttles because we have so many little mini buses and vans on campus that may not be used. And obviously, if people are wearing their masks and whatnot, we could pick up people that don't have the means or the ability to get to those polling stations, and maybe we can drive them there. So there's going to be so many different things we're looking at to help during election day, where we can make sure we're kind of taking that action, not just talking about it. And that was the other reason I wanted to start this organization. You're on all these Zoom calls about social injustice and racism, but on all those Zoom calls are all people of like us, like-minded, that are anti-racist. But it's not just enough to be anti-racist. It's what are you doing about that? What are you doing to help with this process and help educate? And I'm still learning. I try to do as much reading and listening as I can, because I want to be a better person and a better coach, but I also want to make sure my players and my president and my athletic director and my campus community know I'm doing all I can also to help. And I'm not just going to be silent, because we know that silence is basically not doing anything.
Yeah, and I think that I'll just piggyback that with one more point, and I think that you probably agree with it, and that is that, the sign of a real leader is not just leading, but being able to say, I don't know, being able to say, like, I need help. So walking with the kids and asking questions of the kids, and really, I think the biggest thing too with a lot of us is now not having the fear of being wrong, but taking that fear of being wrong and turning it into wanting to learn and grow and be better. Because again, like we always talk about, it's all about the kids. It's all about being better for these young men and women. So how are you going to do that? And I think that this is a group that there's a lot of really, really good things to it. And there's a lot of things that can be really, really powerful and can really help more than a jump shot or their resting heart rate or their beep test score. Like, yeah, those are important. The last two are really important to me, but at the end of the day, are they leaving it better than they found it? Are we helping them be better because of it? And I think a group like this is going to help them understand the power that they actually have and the ability that they have actually to drive change and make this a better place for everyone.
100%. I couldn't have said it any better, right? That's the main goal, right? We want to leave all we're doing better than we found it, and by having such unity and such a reach, I think, with the type of people that we have in Coaches for Change. I'm just so proud to, be affiliated and have so many people that are willing to give their time, right? Because as we know in this business, the time is the most important thing, and you don't get any more of it, right? It's not something that you can kind of earn, right? You only get those 24 hours, and you got to make the most of them every day. And I think with this Coaches for Change organization, we're able to hopefully magnify and be a force of change for the good, and to show our student athletes that we want to learn and we want to help them learn, and we need them to help us too. And we're going to do this thing together. And that's what it's all about, is that synergy and that compassion and love for one another to grow as human beings and to continually evolve.
No doubt, man. So where can they find out more? Coaches, the number 4change.org, but also like the social media stuff. Like, let's make sure we get all that in the notes, but let everybody know where they can follow.
For sure. At Coaches for Change on Twitter, Coaches, the number 4Change, and it's the same on Instagram. It's on LinkedIn as well. And, obviously you'll be able to hopefully sign up or, inquire about a membership towards the end of the week. So excited, some big things ahead.
Yeah, man, it's awesome stuff. Make sure everybody listening, you hit the pause right now, hop on that Twitter app at Coaches, number 4Change. Hit the follow at Coaches4Change on Instagram. Hit the follow. There's going to be a whole bunch of great stuff coming out, a whole bunch of things that are going to just start to allow us to have better conversations. And I think that I like the term better conversations too. I think people like to talk about it being hard conversations. I don't know, Carmen, like when I go upstairs right now and I go talk to Jacob or Grant or Blake or Nick or whoever, or Nathan, it's not a hard conversation to me. Like, if you really love these kids, it's a real conversation. It's a life conversation, and it's making sure you're doing best by them. And I appreciate all that y'all have been working your tails off for with this, man. I'm really, really excited to be able to be part of it, and really hope that this helps spread the word even more, get more people involved, and really, just keeps this ball rolling. It's the snowball's going downhill, man. Like this thing's picking up steam. So I think people really need to jump on and start to be active with it.
No, for sure. Well, thank you so much for having me, and best of luck. I know you guys are down there training in Richmond, and that's a great thing. Obviously, a team that's expected to do big things, and look forward to watching you guys. And obviously, you have a great staff down there with Coach Mooney and his crew, and just looking forward to following you guys there. But thank you so much for the support with Coaches for Change. We appreciate it.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you real soon, buddy. Thanks.
Thank you.